Good evening. There was a slight mechanical, technical, computer errors, and welcome to this week's edition of Ask Andrew Anything on Email Marketing. And this is episode number, gosh, I can't remember, probably 9. But as usual, I would appear, basically, I'll show up live every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. GMT plus 8, and my purpose is to spend 20 minutes or so with you to answer your questions related to email marketing. Okay, so without further ado, let me set up my sharing. Okay, let's try this. Let's move this. There you go. Right. Okay, so just a quick brief. My name is Andrew. If you're new to me, and basically I help businesses build deeper relationships with their prospects and also clients through emails, so that selling becomes effortless, right? And that's what I do. Email marketing is what I specialize in, and email marketing is what I geek out in. And the next thing is, so the purpose, like I mentioned, I appear live every Wednesday. I spend 20 minutes or half an hour to basically answer your questions on email marketing. Now, the next thing is, how do you actually submit questions, right? So this is what you do. You can take your phone, take a screenshot if you want to, and use your phone to scan this QR code, and it will lead you to a Google form, right? A very simple Google form where you fill in your email address so that, if there's any questions or follow-up, I can get back to you. And just fire in your questions, as simple as that. And once I receive it, and from week to week, if I have time, I will then feature your questions and answer them live during the session. Okay? And if you'd like to know a bit more about me, you want to basically find out, what this guy's legit. Does he do? Is he good at what he do, and whatever it is? Follow me on LinkedIn. Okay, no pressure. You basically look at the content I post and you make your judgment, based on that. So as usual, you scan the QR code and it will basically lead you to my LinkedIn page. And you can follow, you can hit the bell button if you like the content and you want to be notified with whenever I post a new content, and you can do that. Okay, so today is kind of this week is kind of slow. I only had one question, but this question from Rogers is kind of loaded in the sense that he says that my prospects say that they can't afford our services, and how can I convince them through emails? Right, Rogers, if you are tuning in, it'd be nice to know basically in what industry are you in, either B2C or B2B. And basically what you offer. Now, let me see. Let me check the comments and see. Hi, Tiago. Welcome. I can show this. There you go. There you go. I'm getting a hang of playing around with StreamYard. So it's kind of difficult to give an advice this way, but I will try. And maybe I'll draw something. Let's try this. Let's try this. Okay, I'm going to share, stop share, and I'm going to share another screen. Okay, there you go. All right. So let's look at a big picture, all right, of why a prospect may buy something and why they may not buy, right? And this is my take. There are various sales models that's out there, but this is just based on my own personal observation and my experience. So bear with me. I'm going to look at, okay, the right thing. Oops. It crashed. Let's see. Let me get it back again. Just a minute. There you go. All right. Let's share this again. If it crashes, then I will have to just explain to you. Okay, let's try. Let's go. Okay, so generally, okay, there you go. And straighten the line. As you notice, my drawing is pretty messed up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 5 levels, and it starts with okay, and basically, since you mentioned about affordability and or basically buy or not buy. All right. So this are the flow, and how does it work? Uh, is this? They're going to start from here all the way here, right? So the first step is the prospect has to buy into you, all right? Basically, who are you? And maybe why you, right? So they have to start trusting you first, all right? So let's say now you go to go through the process and says, okay, Andrew, I trust you. I like you. I think you're a nice person, and should be able to help me. The next thing they would jump to is obviously look at your products and services, all services, all right? So can your product or service actually help me? I've got a specific pain, and this is what you have. Does it do? So they need to be convinced, at least, that there's a possibility, at least, that your product and services can serve them. All right. So once they've gone through that level, that hoop, all right, then you will then evaluate your company. Okay. In most cases, unless you are a solopreneur like myself, me is a company is me. But in most cases, you'll probably be representing a company. So they would then look at, is this company stable? Is this company does it have a good reputation? Does it basically, will it last? Right? If I pay the company X amount of dollars, what if they go bust the next day? Right? So those are the questions that goes inside the mind of the prospects. Now if you notice recently, or maybe the last couple of years, there is this just a sidetrack. There is this movement where companies are measured by so-called ESG, right? ESG generally stands for environmental, social, and governance. Most companies, when they started, is obviously for profit. But over time, as more companies come into the market and all those things, then the so-called the level gets increased, in the sense that they want to know what sort of contribution are you basically as a company doing back, giving back to society. Then you have stuff like CSR, right? Corporate social responsibility, for example. You add value to society, you build society, and all those things. Then eventually, now most companies, you notice, at least the big companies, they're moving into ESG, where they're measured, right? What are their contribution to the environment, social, and also governance? So that's what ESG stands for: environment, social, and governance. What's your stake on diversity, and and all this stuff comes into play, right? So when you measure, when a prospect look at it, they will look at the company from this angle, okay? And that is the third level of hurdle that they have to go through. Now, assuming that they're convinced, and finally they go to this, right? They are convinced about you, they're convinced that your product or service can actually help them, and they're convinced that the company is here to stay, has a good reputation, and they feel good doing business with you. Next thing, obviously, is affordability, which is basically the budgets and all the stuff. When you look at affordability, right, now this is slightly away from email marketing, but I think I want to basically give you some context as to how you can apply to email. So bear with me. So when you look at affordability, the next, there's this nice little quote that I heard from a gentleman called Simon Bowen, and part of it I agree. I mean, there's one part I want to add on. He says that the customer's affordability is not your responsibility. Okay, I repeat, the customer's affordability is not your responsibility. Okay. What he's saying is you have a product and services, basically you have a fee that you set up. It is then up to basically the customer to decide whether they can afford you. And it's not your responsibility unless you want to lower down your price, right? But if you want to sustain business, in most cases, you don't, right? So that's his take. Now, I want to add on to that, a quick segue for this. The reason why customers may say they may not afford it is basically a case of, just a minute. Sorry. A case of value against price. Okay. Pardon my handwriting. So if they feel that the value that they're going to get or they're going to receive and is lower than the price, then obviously they can't afford you, or basically they don't think that it's worth it. All right, in a very simple term. Okay. Hey, Shukri, what's the best strategy for email marketing? Okay, good. I'll get back to you. Let me finish this first. Right. So, if your value or the perceived value, the prospect see is higher than your price, and obviously, right? If they spend $100 with you, and basically they feel that confident that they can get ringgit, $1,000 back, no brainer, isn't it? Right? So the affordability now is first, obviously, if they really can't afford it, there's nothing much you can do unless you want to lower down the price as per Simon Bowen's advice, or you then focus on addressing this. And in most cases, it could be the case of value against price, right? So keep that in mind. And finally, once you have gone through that final hurdle, okay, then obviously it's a matter of conversion, right? Because they trust you, they know that your product and services can actually help them. They find that your company is the right company for them to do business with, and then obviously they can afford you. Then obviously, the next obvious step is obviously to buy. Okay, so Rajesh, to answer your questions, how can email play a part if you are stuck at this level? Let me try a different color. If you are stuck at this level, all right. Now the assumption is this, that they already buy in to all this. You need to find out, all right, in your case, when you talk to your prospects, for example, whether they are actually basically convinced of these three before they come to here. There are certain customers, in my experience, sometimes they just jump straight into the affordability, right? They don't really care. They just look at the price. Now, in most cases, especially now that I'm on a solo basis, is if a customer jumps straight to the price, very likely that I won't take them on because they have no context as to what I can do for them and what's the value I can offer to them. All right. So if you're larger companies, then you need to find out, are they convinced of this? Assuming if they're convinced of this, then you then need to address here the value and price. So how does email come into play? Okay, let's try a different color. Let's assume you basically want to use email to fill up this gap. That's gap number one, right? The moment a customer comes in, either through a lead or meet you at an event and all those things, and you don't have time to follow up, that's where the first step of email comes in, right? Basically, a series of emails to explain who you are, what you do, and what you stand for, and stuff like this. Basically, to build that trust first in you. Let me get a drink. Right? The next thing is this. Here is another part that you can do. Let's assume you've gone through this part. You then want to position yourself. Okay, this app seems to be crashing down on me so many times. Let me get it back on again. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, let's get it back on again. It's up. A minute. Oh, there you go. Come on, hang in there, hang in there. How to finish this? So the next thing is you want to look at basically how do you explain the value of your product and services, right? So you can have a series of emails talking about the value, talking about how basically they can help the user, right, or the prospect. And then you have stuff like testimonials and all those things, all right? Then once you have this, there is another angle that you look at, basically is to explain the company, right? You can bring it into a series of emails and basically address what the company does and all those things, right? You can spread that story over time. And even if you have, let's say, acknowledgement awards and industry awards that you receive, and this is how you can actually use emails to basically share this with your leads and prospects, right? Now, assuming you have done all these three now, and you then find out, right, in most cases, from your discussion with prospects who may not buy your stuff, and they say, hey, I can't afford you, and the reason why, because I don't see value. Now you can basically build emails before, in advance, to basically position yourself or your product and services against, and to basically, let me do this, to explain your value or to handle objections upfront. Okay, so this is how, Rajesh, you want to use email to basically fill up the gap at every single stage. Okay, let me make this smaller. You can use email to fill up the gap at every single stage of this buying process to the point of conversion. Okay, I hope, well, it's general enough, but basically, you get an idea now. Basically, this is how you can actually do those emails. And then this is where basically you build that journey from knowing you to the point of being a customer. And every step of the way, you can use emails to address the objections and to basically build up your case on why they should select you. Okay? Got a dry throat. Okay, Shukri, let's look at yours. That's done. Let's move for the next one. What's the best strategy for email marketing? Shukri, can you give me some context as to what you sell or what you do? And because otherwise, the best strategy of email marketing is also another very general question, my friend. Can you post in the comment section? I can actually see your comments. That's why I'm putting it up. I'll give you a couple of minutes because there's this delay between the live broadcast and what you see on your screen on your desktop or phone. Shukri? Let me check on LinkedIn whether I can see your comments there as well. Okay, let me go to the live post. Okay. Right, Shukri, if you have any context, otherwise, I'm going to take a guess. What's the best strategy for email marketing? Okay, let's try the most simple way. All right. All right. Three things. Who are you? Okay. Oh, yeah, and I think, oh, yes, my friend, IT company, project based, not retail. Okay, all right. So let's use the same thing. Let's try this. Who are your prospects? Right? why there are two parts why you want to email them and why they need you, which is basically their pains and problems, right? So once you already identify this, then you want to know what are you going to send them, okay? Okay. And obviously from same thing like what we have with Rajesh, let's say they heard about you want to use email to come to the point that they become your right? That's very obvious from point A to point B. And what goes in between is basically a combination of these few. So if you look at what we have with Rajesh, so we apply the same thing. You need to know, basically, let me clear up some this so that it is cleaner. Oops. Okay. Right? So your email, the strategy for your email is the moment they come into contact with you, either through your salesperson and all those things, you want to basically start your charm offensive from here. All right. You or your company give them a quick idea. It doesn't need a lot of emails, maybe one or two emails, a quick introduction and all those things for them. All right. Second thing is obviously remember we talk about why do they need you, right? If you are very clear on their pains and basically related to your IT company, if you're doing, let's say, SI services and all things, if it's related to security, there are many aspects of to, in terms of security, it could be perimeter, firewall security, it could be data related security, it could be compliance related security. So it depends on your understanding of basically who your prospects are, right? So if you have a business related to, let's say, data, related to, let's say, perimeter. Okay, for those of you who are not in IT security, perimeter services is basically your fence, right? So they have security to prevent external people from coming in to hack into your into your systems and all those things. So that's why you call it perimeter service. In general, it's called firewall services, and all those things. So once you have this, you then want to basically send specific emails to address your prospects requirement, right? You're not doing email blasts. So the next thing is you segment your audience, right? This is what you call segment. So that you are going to send specific emails to a specific group of readers. Okay. And then obviously you can then add on, for example, a couple of emails for your company. And in your case, if it's IT, very likely that they won't be clicking a button and buying online. It's obviously because it's going to be a B2B services. So what you want to do is to move them to the point to getting on a call with you. Okay, that's basically the conversion mechanism. When you get a call with you, a meeting with you, a presentation with you, and that's where basically you can move on from there. So when you have this in place, you then take them through this point. And here, before customer, the critical part in your business is basically having that call or meeting. Right? And what can you do in social to attract more people who may not have heard from you? So you basically use, in your case, LinkedIn to basically attract the right people to come to you or to look at you to basically have a connection with you. And from there, you can then funnel them into your emails. Right? And then the emails will basically go through the same process from you all the way to product and services to company to affordability. Now, assuming let's say that you're not sure, they're coming from socials, you don't know what's their need, your email is, you want to use your email to basically filter them, right? That means you have an email to say, to select, ask them to self-select, you know, which issues are concerning them immediately. So if they click on that button, then you have a series of emails to address that particular issue. All right. So this is one way of doing it. So in broad terms, your email is your secondary salesperson as a follow-up. Your responsibility as a business owner is to be active on social so that you can then funnel through connections, through network, for example, to get them into basically your emails by providing value. So you're not going to sell upfront, okay, because they don't know you yet. So they want to know basically, in this case, the value is what sort of content, how can you help them, right? Do you demonstrate your industry knowledge? Right, the companies that you have helped. Remember here, this portion, right? So once you have done that, and to the point that you then measure basically to get them to this call and meeting, and you look at basically their engagement. Now remember, Shukri, email is a so-called a slow burn marketing process. It's not like, I called you and I have to get a conversation straight away and I try to close you on a deal, right? But the good thing is because email costs very little, because it takes a little, very little time once you set up the automation and all the stuff. It is a slow burn. You want to measure in terms of engagement to basically start building them from taking them from hearing about you, knowing you, all the way to having that call. In your case, having that call and meeting. I hope I addressed your questions, my friend. Yeah, not retail. Obviously, retail is very straightforward. You send them the conversion mechanism in retail is getting them into your e-commerce store, for example, or getting them to go into your store. But for your case, in IT services, especially in SI or system integration, you want to basically take them from not hearing about you or not knowing about you to the point that, okay, I think, I've received enough evidence that your company can do what you say you can do, and let's get on the call. At the very least, right? At the very least, why I say email is your secondary salesperson is you are slowly dripping information and start building that mental availability, right? Which means over time, when they have a SI solution or they have a need for SI, they'll probably think of you because of your presence in their inbox. Okay, and hopefully they don't unsubscribe. So in order to avoid getting them to unsubscribe, your responsibility is to give them sufficient value that will help them along the way, even if it's for free, because it's just email advice like what I'm giving you now, right? And such a point that you can then get into deeper conversations with them, and from then on, convert them into customers. So that's how you can use email. Okay. So with that, we are on the mark on half an hour. Not bad. Not bad. I didn't prepare much for this one. Let me see. There you go. So for Rajesh, we have addressed issue with Rajesh. Hopefully, Rajesh, let me know. You can reach me on LinkedIn on whether the advice makes sense for you or serve you. And Shukri, oh, there you go. Call marketing conversion is tough, right? So, how do I put it? Your emails should be able to trigger, or you should use your emails to trigger an interest that they want to reach out to you. Okay, instead of what you're doing is you're trying to push for call and meeting, and which is very tough, right? The because competition, because they have more information now, access to information, you want to be able to attract them to trigger that call to say, hey, Shukri, I read this email and it seems, you seem to understand my case and my problems, and you have customers and done that. Can we have a conversation about the case that I have, right? So use email. The difference between you and if you apply this and other SIs is most SIs are basically doing outbound calls, right? In your case, you're supplementing your outbound calls with emails to attract prospects. And because remember your presence on social media, if you put an effort into it to actually attract more people, that's where emails can help supplement by basically building a case for you why they should pick up the phone and call you instead. Okay. So two things, I mean, it's not going to be an overnight success. I'm afraid that's not going to happen. But it is an arsenal that you can have a competitive advantage against other SI if you actually start doing it. Because not many people will. Not many people are tuning into this live session. So you are. So you have this advantage now that you can build for your business. Okay, my friend? All right. So what we have, if you want more, basically, as we end this, if you want more free resources, I write every week. I've got three newsletters. One is to target B2B. The other one is to target B2C industry. And finally, my latest one is basically to give you daily email subject lines, right? One of the reasons why a lot of prospects, a lot of basically fans and customers say that, I have no idea what to write for my subject line. I don't have any prompts to give me give me an idea what I want to write. So that's why I come up with these daily subject lines, which I will send you every day, Monday to Sunday, irrespective public holiday or whatever it is. One email subject line recommendation a day for the next 365 days. Okay, so it's free. You receive an email. There's nothing to sell. Basically, I'll just share the subject line and then the so-called the preview text, and then the so-called the reason behind why this subject line is useful and how you can use it, and then basically the context of the subject line itself. It's up to you to make basically use it, modify it, or basically just inspire you to come up with your own version of subject line, right? So 3 newsletters for you to choose if you want to get free resources. And of course, you can also follow me on LinkedIn. I will post regularly there. And some of the contents I post on LinkedIn will not be in the newsletter and vice versa, right? So with that, thank you so much, Rajesh and Shukri. And, if you want to basically continue the conversation with me to follow up, obviously I can't give you a whole strategy in 30 minutes. Let's I think we are connected. So let's have this DM me, through my LinkedIn, and then we can have a deeper conversation on that. So with that, thank you so much for your time. My name is Andrew, and I do emails, and that's what I do. And I come on live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. GMT plus 8, spend 20 minutes to 30 minutes with you to answer your questions, right? So if you have any questions that you want to ask regarding to email marketing, please scan this QR code and submit your questions through a simple Google form. And next week, I'll see you same time, same place, and same platform. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Cheers.